You ready? Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Commissioners' meeting for November 2nd, 2022. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start off. This is our meeting, the meeting we have obviously before Veterans Day, and we have our Veteran Services Officer, Tim Wynn, is here, making his way to the podium. Talk about a couple things we have going on. And we'll start by thanking him for his service as a veteran.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody. So in honor of upcoming Veterans Day holiday, Bucks County Building will be illuminated green November 7th through 13th as part of Operation Greenlight, a new national collaborative initiative of the National Association of Counties to support military veterans and raise awareness about the unique challenges faced by many veterans as well as their families. The resources that are available here at the county, state, and federal level are here and will remain here for all veterans. Since the tragedy of September 11, 2001, our nation's voluntary military force members and their families have made immense sacrifices for our safety and security over a 2-decade period. Similar to the sacrifices of previous generations of our armed forces, this service to the country also often results in significant stress to many of the veterans who served in times of war and conflict. We want to make sure our veterans and their families know that their service mattered, that we are grateful for their sacrifices, and that it is now our turn to make sure that every veteran who served their country is supported in our community and by our government. In addition to lighting the county buildings green, we encourage all residents to get a green light, put it outside of your home. Maybe you had an uncle, cousin, brother, sister, aunt who served, and it's your way to show support for them. So we encourage everybody to light their homes green and support our veterans. There are many Veterans Days events listed throughout the county on our Human Resources website, as well as our social media platforms. I hope to see many of you out in the community on Veterans Day. And lastly, our van is running, and we have a special video to play about our van. So we do a little bit of everything in our office. My name's Tim Wynn, Director of Bucks County Veterans Affairs, and I'm here with VA1, ready to serve you and get you to all your appointments. What is VA? Uh-oh. My name's Tim Wynn, Director of Bucks County Veterans Affairs, and I'm here with VA1, ready to serve you and get you to all your appointments. What is VA1? VA1 is our transportation vehicle for all our veterans in the community to get to their appointments. We run this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We go to the Philadelphia VA Hospital as well as the Coatesville Veterans Hospital. And every third week of the month, we go to the Victor Sarancini Clinic. There's 46,000 veterans in Bucks County, and this is just a small part of what we do to help those veterans. So if you're in need of a ride, please take advantage of our services. We have you covered with our van. VA1 is up and ready to go for you. Video. Thank you for your support with that. So again, our van is up and running. Please take advantage of it. And happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there. And lastly, go Phillies.
Actually, Mr. Wynn, real fast before you run off, but thank you first off for the van. I know that was something that was several years getting up and running. The county's had it, but it just wasn't able to be kind of operated, and so I want to thank you for putting the work in and getting that done. The law that was passed, I forget the name of it now, just a few months ago at the federal level that expanded the healthcare benefits.
It's called the PACT Act.
PACT Act, okay. Has your office seen, if you could just describe, I know you did this before, but just describe a little bit more about who's covered by that, how that expansion might affect veterans here in the county, and if you're seeing an increase in your office.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing an increase in our office. The phone's definitely ringing more and more due to people are seeing a lot of this information on the TV. I will tell our veterans in our community, don't believe everything you see on TV. Make sure you reach out to our office first. Come and talk to us. We have the real information, the information from the state, the information from the VA. There are a couple presumptive illnesses that they've added to the list of presumptive illnesses for veterans who were exposed to toxic environments, whether it be Vietnam or Iraq and Afghanistan. So there is a list on our website of all these presumptive illnesses, as well as the countries that you may have served in. So if you think you were anywhere near any of this stuff, please come and talk to our office. Again, do not believe everything you see on TV. Talk to a real representative.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and as far as when it comes to healthcare with veterans, I just want to go back to my time in Harrisburg when the state expanded Medicaid here in Pennsylvania. And what a big help that was to a lot of people in the state. I think there's like 800,000 to 900,000 people that now qualify for Medicaid expansion. And I was surprised to learn at that time, and this was 8 years ago, of how many of our veterans did not have health insurance. For a variety of reasons, they couldn't find employment, they were unemployed, they might have had a disability that they hadn't got approval for yet. I mean, it was just such a large number. And even here in Bucks County, there was a large number. And these veterans were qualified for Medicaid expansion. So that has been a tremendous, tremendous asset for veterans and getting health insurance here in Pennsylvania, that Medicaid expansion. And again, Governor Wolf did that when he first came in, which is going to be about 8 years ago. And big, it was so important for our state for a variety of reasons, and certainly the veterans were one. Thank you.
Absolutely, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. This is for agenda items. Remind speakers that whatever they're speaking on has to be related to an item on the agenda. First name on the list is Ed Mackhouse.
Thank you. I'm Ed Mackhouse from Buckingham. Adjusting budget item about adjustments is the $1,190,000 going for the election fund balance for revenue and voting machines. So I'd like to compliment Bucks County on the way you secure the drop boxes. They're in the courthouses, they're in the libraries, they're secured. They're when the library or stuff closed, the drop box closed, so that's okay. I'd like to suggest that there, in addition to a video camera, to be a still motion camera, so you can count the number of voters that use that drop box every day. This can eliminate, this won't, I don't think there's fraud here, but it's a procedure that verifies that it's one ballot, one vote. If you have 200 people using the drop box and there was 1,700 ballots in there, it shows that it's fraudulent, it's contaminated, and that should be all thrown out. That was reported by Epoch Times, reported in Georgia, where one of the drop boxes there, they had 270 people using the drop box, but it was 1,700 ballots. So that's, all those ballots should be thrown out if the drop box is contaminated. So that, using that adjustment would be good. Also, the voting machines, maybe they could be put on public display so people can go and verify how they're working. And I suggest that maybe bipartisanship, Philadelphia should adopt like what you're doing here. I checked in Philadelphia, they have a drop box outside a recreation center. We know all the crimes people are afraid to go to a lot of these recreation center. So they should be all secured, so they're not secured any time of the day. So if they would move it to the courthouse, to the libraries in Philly,
Mr.
and
Mackhouse,
then shut it.
we're not Philadelphia, so what about, nothing on our agenda deals with Philadelphia's voting machines.
Yeah, okay. I'm just complimenting you that you have it secured.
Appreciate that.
You set an
Thank you.
example. And the question is of election integrity, the people having confidence in our system. And most people are good, and if most people weren't good, there would be much more crime than there actually is. But we want to decrease crime and not see it exponentially increase. And that's why Krasner, even 10 Democrats voted to impeach him.
Well.
And we should restore confidence in our election. I think Bucks County can show the way in some ways. And I think we should try and get not a one-party dictatorship, but a bipartisan system like
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
Very much for your help.
Andy Warren?
I'd like to address item 1A and 10A. I was out of state the last public meeting when a similar item to 1A was on the agenda, and I'm assuming that referencing specifically 1A today, that the speaker last week, the deputy director of the area agency, commented concerning Ben Salem that 70% of their funds from the Ben Salem Center were raised through their own fundraising. I found that astounding, that a senior organization would have 70% of their funding from cinnamon bun sales like Zecherins have. But, so I went to Mr. Bacola's budget, your budget, looked under Senior Citizen Center, and couldn't find anything under the area agency specifically referencing senior centers, so I could compare expenses to revenue. Item 69,421 was Ben Salem. Item 69,424 was Morrisville, today's agenda. And it mentioned that Ben Salem had the only number I could see was $80,700. Morrisville was $54,800. I noticed today that Morrisville is getting $52,900. So am I to assume that their entire budget was lost due to COVID, which is what this funding is from? So I'm just asking if I come to the finance director or area agency, could I get more specific information? And item 10A, what is the source of the funding for these sign-on bonuses? How many? What's the total amount of money that is involved with this motion? And do we have a number of employees that are staying because of the signing bonus they would have left otherwise? Either of those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tim Daly?
Tim Daly, Lower Makefield Township. So I'm going to address meeting minutes from the last meeting as well as mental health.
Warwick Township. I just want to make a note on the presentation you just did. I'm offended that you're using taxpayers' money to wield a leftist agenda, and the inflection in your voice was really not to inform, but to push an agenda. I'm just going to state that's my personal opinion. And the Southern, if you're attacking Judicial Watch, the Southern Poverty Law Center is a racist organization that has a RICO suit against them for labeling anybody.
Mr. Harvey, was that your voice laughing? You want to own up to it? Because sincerely, I got to say, I'm disappointed at the continued politicism that's been going on at this board, which is why I come. First, I want to commend Gene for standing up and saying, let's put a stop to this. That was a clown show you put on, Mr. Khan. You should be ashamed of yourself. It definitely justifies why you tried to run for DA in Philadelphia and lost to the worst DA in the county, or the country. And because you put politics when you're supposed to be.
Mr. Daly, what is this on our
So I'm
agenda?
addressing meeting notes. So you basically, I want to have these meeting notes addressed, that Mr. Harvey's disrespect and laugh be included in that. You guys like to sit here and attack people, calling out lies. I counted 16. Why are you laughing, Bob? You're the one that's under federal investigation here, pal. We're not. You're the one that's under federal investigation. You should be laughing at anything.
That is inappropriate.
Show some
That is
respect. Don't interrupt
totally-
my comments.
No, let him-
No.
There's an
All right.
injunction in the state.
All right.
You better understand it. Marshall versus Amuso. Do not interrupt me. So what I'm asking for is that the meeting notes be amended to ensure that Bob Harvey's laugh in public comment towards a constituent is upheld into that, so that it's on public record of the disrespect that he showed. So where I want to go is to governance, because that's where we should be focused. So I see at the end of the day, we're focused on mental health with one of the elements here today, and I hope that you'll put it forward. Today I sat over in the Starbucks and watched two mentally ill individuals disrupt people that were in there in the cafe, and it's because our government isn't addressing these issues, and they're getting worse and worse. And the reasons why we're not addressing these things is because we're having clown shows in this hall, talking about politics, going after Judicial Watch.
Mr. Daly,
when we're
there's
supposed to
nothing-
be
there's
talking
nothing on our
about
agenda.
mental health
Mr. Daly.
and these
There's
types of
nothing
things
on
that
the
the
agenda
government.
here.
Daly, there's nothing
Yeah,
on
there
our
is.
agenda
You have
for mental
a
health.
thing for psychiatric treatment on the bill, B2.
What is
So
it?
basically, I do support all of that. Let's focus on governance, guys. Less on your politics, more on the governance. Thank you.
All right, there are all the agenda items. Just dealing with the issues that were brought up. Mr. Mackhouse, what you call the fraudulent ballots and time or motion-operated cameras. Pennsylvania law does allow, this has been repeatedly said over and over and over and over. Pennsylvania law does allow someone to drop off more than one ballot if they have a designated agent form for the person whose ballot they are dropping off, if it's not theirs. If you go, you could go under the law, you could go to a senior center or a nursing home and get 100 ballots. As long as you have 100 designated agent forms from each of those voters, you're allowed to bring 100 ballots. That's the law. So the idea that one person can't bring 2 ballots is inaccurate. You're supposed to have that form, and the people we have at our ballot boxes make that clear. In fact, I think we have them at the ballot boxes. So, Mr. Warren asked about the Mooresville Senior Center. Yes, similar to Ben Salem, we're making up for lost revenue. So it's not their entire budget that we're giving them. This was something the Area Agency on Aging worked on for months and months and months with the senior centers themselves to work out a system where we would be able to help them figure out what revenue they lost because they weren't able to do the operations they were able to do over the past couple of years, fundraisers, et cetera. And as long as they could show that, as long as it's something that would hold up to an audit, which of course is something that we want to make sure we're doing. In fact, Mooresville Senior Center was the beta test for the form. Our AAA has a lot of respect for the way they run their senior center. So our Area Agency on Aging came up with a protocol for how a senior center anywhere in the county could put forward how much money they had lost through lost revenue. Gave that to Mooresville Senior Center, had them go through it. They were able to point out a few things that were a little confusing or wasn't clear. Our AAA went back, adjusted the form, and then gave it out to all of the senior centers. So whether or not whatever's in the budget you got from Mr. Boscola, that I imagine is what we're contributing. I don't think the budget numbers you would have whatever they raised on their own, would it? Mr. Boscola, or would just be our contribution to whatever?
Yeah, only our contribution is included in our budget. They're separate entities and agencies, and their total budget is handled through their agency.
Right.
We only budget what we contribute.
Yeah, so it should be public information, yes, through AAA. Yeah, okay. Regarding 10A with the AFSCME, the retention bonuses for, where's it now, 10A, there it is. Sheriff's deputies, corporals, deputy sheriff, sergeants. Kevin, or we can, Ms. Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. For item 10A, we did a side letter agreement with AFSCME for our Sheriff's Department employees, deputy sheriffs, sergeant deputy sheriffs, and corporal deputy sheriffs. It was not a sign-on bonus for new hires. It was purely a retention bonus to current employees in those positions, about 60 people, $750, and another $750 in 6 months, and we had grant money for it.
Okay, thank you. And as for the comment about the minutes, I have absolutely no problem having our minutes amended to show that a member of the public called the Southern Poverty Law Center racist, and that I laughed at that such ridiculous, preposterous, ignorant comment. So, Southern Poverty Law Center, for people who don't know, has been fighting racism and discrimination in America for about 70 years, since the Civil Rights Movement, which I understand, may have ruffled some feathers in this country in certain parts among certain people, but it is a movement that occurred for just reasons. Southern Poverty Law Center continues to track hate groups across the country and fight racism and discrimination and anti-Semitism and other kinds of hatred. And so, have no problem. Excuse me. All right. Consent agenda. We approve, I have the minutes. We'll have to do a minutes as amended, if that's okay. And resolutions 1 through 17. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Okay, under regular agenda, we have the budget adjustment. Mr. Boscola?
Yes, Commissioner. Adjustment number 14 for your consideration would recognize the revenue we would receive for the election integrity grant. We received the actual funding back at the end of August, and we will utilize that to cover those things that are eligible within the grant in both the Board of Elections and the voting machines departments.
Okay, thank you. All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Boscola? Okay, is there a motion to approve the budget adjustment number 14?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Personnel actions on the commissioners list. If there are no comments or questions about the commissioners list, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Board appointments. To the Bucks America 250 PA, we have Ms. Kelly Blake, new appointment that'll end on 7/5/2026. To the Library Board, 2 reappointments, Kathleen Moeller-Pfeiffer and Richard Rogers, both ending 11/1/2025. Parks and Recreation, 2 reappointments, Theodore Moore, Charles Raudenbush, and a new appointment, Mr. Eric Henricks. All appointments will end 11/1/2027. Is there a motion to make those appointments?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Other civics, 2 contributions, one to the Bucks County Steward of Honor, $4,000, one to the James Michener Arts Center for $50,000. Is there a motion to make those 2 contributions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Chief Operating Officer, Ms. McKevitt.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am going to parlay my time to Deputy Chief Operating Officer Gail Humphrey and our Board of Elections Director, Tom Freitag, to talk about this upcoming election, if I may.
Thank you, Margie. Thanks, Commissioners. Just wanted to give an update next Tuesday. Sorry. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to give an update. Next Tuesday, the 8th, is the general election. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. throughout the county. We have our polling place lists available online, as well as in our office if anyone needs it. Couple updates. Yesterday was the deadline to apply for absentee and mail-in ballots by 5 p.m. yesterday. As of this morning, we have sent 98,207 ballots and received back 70,183. From yesterday's deadline, we've got the queue online down to this morning. Before I came down, there were only 58 applications remaining. We're doing a sweep just to make sure there aren't any other paper applications that came in yesterday that we may have missed, but it seems like we're down to less than 100, so all applications should be processed by the end of today. There was some late news yesterday from the PA Supreme Court on mail-in ballots. Previous Department of State recommendations based on a federal Third Circuit Court ruling had said that ballots lacking a date could be counted. State Supreme Court now is saying that ballots without a date should not be counted. So that is a change that we'll be working with the solicitor's office to implement. Wanted to give an update. Drop boxes remain open, or hours are posted online on our office's website. They are manned. They are in the county courthouse, the admin building, as well as our Lower Bucks Government Service Center and Upper Bucks Government Service Center. They follow the county's hours, and then they're also open this Saturday from 12 to 5. Our library drop boxes follow the library hours, so they are different depending on location, but they typically follow the library's hours. Besides Northampton's box, Northampton has Sunday hours, but the box is not open on Sunday. Just trying to go through my list. Ballots are due back by 8 p.m. on November 8th for anyone that's applied. Again, I gave the numbers. We have 71% back already. There were some articles in the news in the last couple days that had a little bit of misinformation with a misunderstanding of verified versus not verified for ID for voters. I just wanted to give a little clarification on that. So if somebody applies online and puts in their driver's license number and their name exactly how it appears on their driver's license, it'll match up to and automatically get verified. If there's any variation from that, say if I put in Tom instead of Thomas, which is on my driver's license, it's gonna come back as saying not verified, which doesn't mean that the driver's license is incorrect. It means that we have to manually look and verify, and we can see the PennDOT information versus what we have on voter registration and what the voter put in, and be able to either verify it, or if something doesn't match, we can contact the voter or send them a letter to get further verification to make sure that their ID is verified. The not verified just means that it didn't automatically go through that automatic verification. So before a ballot can be counted, we do have to verify the voter's ID. So even though the batch type says not verified, it's a little bit of a misnomer of how it's labeled on the Department of State's website. So that's what that means. And again, it could be something as simple as Tom versus Thomas, or say somebody has named Mary Ann and one agency has Mary as the first name and Ann as the middle name, and it just doesn't match 100%. So we're able to verify it through our system, look at what IDs they've provided to us in the past, what's been processed, what's been verified, and be able to make sure that it is the right voter. And if ID is lacking and we can't figure it out, we reach out to that voter and make sure we verify the ID prior to that ballot being counted. Some other updates, e-poll books, we'll be implementing them countywide for this election. We did do pilots in 2021 during the primary and the election that actually the poll workers and public seem to love. Just some facts on the e-poll books. The main reason we've been looking to get these is since 2020, when Act 77 and Act 12 and all the new election changes went into effect, they changed the deadlines for voter registration as well as when ballots need to be returned. So previously, voter registration was 30 days prior to an election. Act 77 changed it to 15 days. It also changed the deadline for ballots to be returned. Ballots used to have to be returned by 5 p.m. the Friday before an election. Now ballots can be returned up to 8 p.m. on election day. This has been since 2020. However, that puts a great strain on our office when we're printing poll books. We have to print poll books, which takes us a little over a week to manually print them. During that time period, the first couple days, people could still be applying for absentee or mail-in ballots. We would then have to go back through those paper poll books to make sure that everybody is accounted for and that we put that they applied for a ballot. Same thing with voter registrations. We could be still receiving transfers from other counties that were timely, but they didn't get it to us in time. So we're making sure it had to manually make sure, print supplemental pages, things like that, to make sure that everyone's in the poll book. With electronic poll books, we can update this information all at once, right before they go out to be delivered to the election workers, so that what they're getting in the poll book we know is up to date and shouldn't have human error that they miss stamping something or things like that. These also will help at the polls. Previously, polling places, if they had multiple poll books, they were split up alphabetically where people had to get in line for the certain letter of their last name. Now you can get in any line for your precinct. Your name's gonna come up in the poll book to be checked in, so it should make check-in process easier, and it also should help eliminate common mistakes that poll workers make. If a prompt is in your voter record, if it's your first time voting, you're required to show ID. This will show right when you sign in that an ID is required, and it won't let the poll worker go forward until they've checked that they've confirmed ID. Same thing if somebody requested or was sent a absentee or mail-in ballot. If they go to their polling place, they need to remit that ballot in order to vote in person, otherwise they have to vote provisionally. This should eliminate people making mistakes of either forcing them to have to do a provisional or letting them sign the poll book and vote. So this will give a prompt saying that this person has requested an absentee or mail-in, and make sure that they have to hit the button saying that they are remitting it prior to letting the voter go forward and sign in. So it should eliminate that, as well as things like affirmations. If somebody is inactive, it will give a prompt saying that before they can go forward, they have to fill out an affirmation. And then also, if a voter goes to the wrong polling place, it will tell them where they need to go. They are not connected to the internet. There is still a paper numbered list of voters at the polls, so as you sign in, your name is still recorded onto a paper numbered list of voters that shows how many people have voted that day. That number then can be compared to how many people have checked in the poll books versus how many people have voted on the voting machines, and all those numbers should match. This also on the back end for our office should make us be able to get our voter registration certification done quicker. Previously with paper poll books, there was a barcode next to everyone's name. After the election, we would go through with a hand barcode reader, kind of what you'd have at self-checkout, beep in every single barcode next to every single voter who's voted in that election, and then we would compare that to the numbered list of voters to see if our numbers matched. If they didn't, we would have to go back through and see where we made a mistake. Did we accidentally miss somebody? Did we accidentally scan somebody who didn't vote? So this is a very time-consuming process. It could take 3 to 4 weeks after the election. During that time period, we can't be processing any new voter registrations. So this will speed that up, that we'll be able to actually take the data from the e-poll books, see how many people checked in on the e-poll books, still compare that to the numbered list of voters, and be able to get our certification process done in a fraction of the time. Did I miss anything? Curing. If somebody failed to sign their ballot, their mail-in ballot, we are sending postcards to voters, letting them know they have until 8 p.m. on election day that they can come to our office to sign the ballot. We previously were not doing any curing for dated because of previous Department of State guidance. However, now with the state Supreme Court ruling, if we receive anything in the next coming days that we see is not dated, we will also be sending correspondence to a voter that they need to date their ballot. Do you have any questions?
At the beginning, you said you've mailed out absentee and mail-in 98,000 plus?
Correct.
You've mailed out, and how many have you received back?
70,000, just above, 70,183.
70,100, and did you say that's about 71%?
That's about 71% return
Of what you sent out, you received back?
so far, and they have until 8 o'clock next Tuesday to return ballots.
Okay. Okay, so that percent will probably go up a little bit, I would assume?
Yeah, would go up. This doesn't include any mail that we received today or anything that's being dropped.
What typically, in the elections past, has it been around 75%, I think?
Roughly, probably about 75% return rate. We're able to get ballots out a little bit earlier this election, and the election is later in November, this election, just the way the calendar falls, so.
Okay, and as far as the e-poll books go, I know you had to do training, right, for the poll workers. How did that training go, and how was it received by the poll workers, the electronic poll books?
So,
The change?
We did do trainings for the last 4 weeks or so, and they came in a little bit unsure because it was something brand new, but after going through the trainings and seeing how easy they were, they actually came out thinking that they were really going to make things better. I mean, there were a few people that had concerns that we addressed and let them and discussed different things, signature verifications and stuff like that. But I think overall they were taken very well.
Yeah. And I think you said with the e-poll books, which I think everybody has seen there's been a problem at one time or the other about somebody coming in and not being registered to vote in that district. These new e-poll books will actually tell that person where they need to go to vote. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you were to go to the wrong polling place and the poll worker looks you up in the poll book, your name will come up, but it'll be grayed out. It won't allow the person to process you to vote there. But you can click on your name and it will say wrong precinct, and then you can click display correct voting location, and it will give the address of where they need to go. And directions with that too as well? There's no directions because Pennsylvania doesn't allow our poll books to be connected to the internet while at the polling place, so they can't give like turn-by-turn directions, but it would give the address, and people would be able to look that up on any smart device or GPS.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Questions? Okay. Now, I just want to thank you first off. This is twice a year, kind of chaos. But having been here obviously a couple of years myself, seeing how hard the office works 12 months a year. For people that think Board of Elections is only busy in May and November, they'd be stunned and shocked at how much work goes on otherwise. And I appreciate the update on some of the misinformation that's been going out just recently about verified, non-verified, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will just echo your comments there. I think the staff has done a great job to automating the office procedures since 2020. And I just want to make sure that the Board of Elections staff know how much we appreciate it. So thank you. And that concludes my report for today.
Okay, thank you. Solicitor's report, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll begin by noting that the board had its standing executive session yesterday when it met with staff and legal counsel to receive information and to discuss personnel matters and collective bargaining negotiations. Commissioner, I hope to yield the balance of my time to Mike Bannon, who's our head of consumer protection and weights and measures, to talk about some of the important work his department has been doing to protect consumers as energy prices are going to be going up as the temperature goes down. Unfortunately, Mike is out sick today, but fortunately, folks at NBC 10 agreed to allow us to share at today's meeting a recent news segment that's airing this week about exactly that. And so, with your permission, Commissioner, I'd ask Mr. Miller to pull up the NBC 10 video. I don't think we need that at 100% volume.
It's one thing that gas prices aren't too cheap, but if your home uses heating oil, it's twice the sticker shock now. The U.S. Energy Information Administration predicts that homeowners will spend 27% more this winter compared to last year, and if it's even a little colder or below normal, it may be 37% more expensive. So we're talking potentially hundreds of dollars in difference, and that makes checking up on those oil deliveries that much more valuable.
It's obviously a huge expense for just about anybody out there.
And you'll start seeing more of these trucks on the road as the weather cools down and the need for heating oil heats up.
Bucks County, we annually inspect all home heating oil trucks once a year to ensure when homeowners are purchasing home heating oil that they're getting what they pay for.
Inspections don't just happen here. They're required throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware too. All right, here we go. In Bucks, that's 115 trucks that have to be inspected for exactly how much is coming out of here and going into your tank at home. To do that, the County Weights and Measures Department hauls this 200-gallon tank from place to place, running each truck through several tests. Here at Petro Home Services in Southampton, that's quite a few trucks.
Then I'm gonna run 200 gallons.
If a truck is short or over roughly a gallon, it fails. This one,
Plus 38 cubic inches. That means he's given away about a tenth, maybe a tenth of a gallon on each 200 gallons. That's very good.
it passed.
But some of them do fail. It's about maintenance of the truck and maintaining the truck. And then, unfortunately, sometimes there are shady operators out there that can alter the gallon of home heating oil that you have. Now, by far, most home heating oil companies are doing the right thing.
So what can you do when a delivery shows up at your home? First, make sure the truck has a seal or a sticker like this one with a recent month and year inspection.
Heating oil, you need to make sure that you receive a ticket, a delivery, a receipt of how much oil you received, how much you paid per gallon, and the meter and the truck that it came from. That's really how we track this at the end of the day.
Winter is coming. You don't want to be seeing red, except for the oil that you paid for.
There's room for fraud, and there's so much money involved, as in home heating oil, on a product you don't really see. It's something you need to be aware of.
Yeah, we're talking about trucks here, but if you have an oil tank at your home, it is also a good idea to do some inspecting of that to make sure that you have no leaks.
And I have to say, Commissioner, this is just one example of the many areas where the weight to measure inspectors are out there making sure that Bucks consumers are being protected in all areas of commerce. And unless there's any questions, that would complete my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. All right, move on to brief public comments. Priscilla Linden.
Good morning. Priscilla Linden, Upper Makefield. Thanks to the Board of Elections and Tom Freitag, they're doing yeoman's work in ensuring the security of our elections. And thanks to the commissioners for holding comments to agenda items when appropriate. I fail to see what drop boxes in Georgia and Philadelphia have to do with Bucks County, but thanks for trying. I also still object to people standing up here in full partisan paraphernalia making statements to a nonpartisan board of commissioners. I fail to see how funding of psychiatric services has to do with being attacked in a coffee shop. And who diagnosed these people anyway? So there are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Sherlock.
Good morning. I would like to also tell Tom Freitag and his staff, thank you so much, because he did a very good explanation of all that they do, and the checks and balances back and forth, so I appreciate that. I'd also like to say thank you for the commissioner's support with regards to the senior center. And there was, of course, as we know, because of COVID, there were a couple years of downtime. Congratulations on the new van for the VA van. That's great. Just a comment that all the votes that are put in the drop boxes, even though the gentleman was concerned that they were being extra, every one of them has to be verified. So someone could put it in an application to get a job here. I mean, you don't know what's going in, but every one of them is verified. Election check. That's really about it. I do appreciate the the explanation about the poll books as well, and all the training that's been done. And I think the fact that you'll be able to find out where that person is supposed to vote right then and there is really a plus, and it will save time. So everyone get out to vote, and please, let's try to support this system and support voting and its integrity that we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Beth Curcio?
Okay, now we have 255,000 unverified ballots for PA from the Democratic side. You can keep shaking your head, Mr. Harvey, but this is what we have. 18,498 in Bucks County alone. I want to know who is in charge of finding them and taking them out in this county. Every employee of this county must understand that it is against the law to have a vote that is fraudulent. People are in jail now from the last election in Philadelphia, Delaware County, and cheating is all over the place. Now we have this stupid E-Verify, and you're thinking it's so great. It's so hard for someone to turn a book and sign it to get your signature. I see what my signature looks like on my license plate, little on my credit cards. It doesn't look like my really good one. Why is it such a problem for somebody to show ID when they vote? They show it when they get on the plane. They show it when they cash a check. Voting is the most important thing. You can shake your head like this, Diane, but until we go back to the non-digital crap, we could lose our republic. Look at Venezuela, the richest Hispanic country in the world. The people are starving. I have friends in Venezuela. I have friends that live here that have family. And how did it happen? It happened because of the way the machines work. We need to get rid of the machines. If you care about the people, if you care about your republic, you'll do the right thing. How come France can do an election in paper ballots in one day? We can change things. We can have the day off. We can have more voting things. It doesn't go in a machine. It's not who puts it in the machine, it's who counts it. And it's just out of hand. And, it's the same thing as these stolen elections. Where do you think inflation comes from? It comes from this ideology of this leftist thing. And if you guys don't think we get caught up into it,
Thank you. Ed Mackhouse?
Mackhouse again, Buckingham. Election integrity. The drop boxes, if there's 200 or 100 ballots from the nursing home, if someone drops in, there should be a verification and should be a check at the end of the day, so that would be good. And then back to the example of Philadelphia, the drop boxes there. I think every place they should have a still cameras, motion every picture, and be able to total how many people voted at that box each day and the total number of ballots in that box each day. And it could be checked by if people authorize other things, but there shouldn't be in general 200 people voting and 2,000 ballots in there. That's off by a factor of 10. And even 10 Democrats, representatives from Philly, talked about impeaching Krasner because they want, most people in Philadelphia are good, but when you have, for the Black Lives Matter supposedly rally, 800 people arrested, and they only prosecute 6 policemen, that is questionable. People lose faith in the government. The Wawa's pulling out of Philly because it's unsafe for businesses and people in the city. And this goes because of election integrity, where they can railroad and put someone like Krasner, who doesn't have any concern, who's never prosecuted a criminal, and finds ways to get rid of murderers like Fetterman. So we need a system that people have confidence in, and we need the rights of people to refuse vaccinations and for themselves and their children, because no credible doctor, every credible doctor knows there's risk and wants the person to assume the risk, and they can't assume all the risk. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Andy Warren?
For whatever it's worth, none of these comments were prepared with anyone previously. In fact, I prepared them almost a week ago. I would like to speak to decorum at public meetings. I think it was October 5th, in the solicitor report, the solicitor turned what I would have turned an attack dog mode to a sitting row officer about having the audacity to take the commissioners to court. That was absurd. And then Commissioner Harvey, you wouldn't even let the row officers speak in their own defense. That's nonsense. Last week, thinking that this was a one-time off, last week, for 19 minutes, the solicitor gave a report about a victory for the commissioners, which was good. Of the 19 minutes, the report was 2 minutes about the election. The other about the court victory. The other 17 minutes was spent in attacking the preview. And Minority Commissioner DiGirolamo sat respectfully for 13 minutes and then said, look, I haven't even had the courtesy of seeing this attack dog mode report. What surprised me more than any of that was Minority Commissioner Marseglia also stated she hadn't seen it.
She's majority now.
Before. Majority Commissioner, thinking ahead. My point with all of this is, last week, the woman who spoke, the resident, there was derisive laughter when she talked about the Southern Poverty Center. There's no place for that. Decorum must return here, and look up the Southern Christian Temperance Unit. Poverty. You will see described
All right.
less than glowing terms.
Yes, by who? Jamie Walker?
My latest legal bill incurred because Bucks County Commissioners filed a frivolous lawsuit against me was $1,416.50. The three of you each owe me $472.13, not the taxpayers. You are going to owe it to me. On May 12th, I was legally awarded Commissioner Marseglia's emails from her second email account. You five felt it was appropriate to take a private citizen to court to keep those emails hidden. What the people of Pennsylvania need to understand, specifically Bucks County, is Commissioner Marseglia is asking a judge to change right-to-know law to make the entire state of Pennsylvania less transparent, and that she's using our taxpayer money to do so. I have asked my state senator, Senator Steve Sanasario, who was also the head of the Bucks County Democratic Party, to help me and the people of Bucks County and Pennsylvania keep our state transparent. He refuses to talk to me. Interesting. In Bucks County, we already know that Eric Nagy wrote our health guidance for 80,000 children. We know you put money in front of our children's education and their health. We know what you did last summer. What could possibly be written in those emails that you are hiding that is worse than what we already know? What the people need to realize, all of the people, Democrat, Republican, is if this could happen to me, it can happen to any person seeking information from their government. This is not appropriate that the government uses our taxpayers to sue a private citizen. I am not being funded by any organization. You guys are making these decisions, the government, while me and my husband are left paying these bills. I brought the bill. I'm sure I'm not allowed to walk up there. I'm gonna give it to you to walk up. And just, this is what you're doing. These are your decisions. You did this.
Tim Daly?
To address the disinformation from Bev Harvey, everyone please write Morris D's fired inside of Google, and you'll learn about how the founder committed racial and gender discrimination against his own employees. Not nonpartisan, Bobby. So now, thank you to Mr. Weintraub for being here. because I want to talk about PA sunshine laws. So first, I want to address the fact of the emails you received from me earlier this week about your error that you made on your website. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt it was an error. But we're also going to have RTKs that Mr. Khan has received, and we're going to educate you guys on the damage that you caused for public discourse because you can't do your jobs. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. It's an error. You got to do better. That's why these election denier people are here, because they can't trust you. I think you guys have done the best you can. I'm not here to say I don't believe in anything that some of these people are saying, but I understand why they have distrust when you can't even manage a website. So, public comment. You guys are trying to play games. You interrupted me, Miss Marseglia. Under PA law, Marshall v. Amuso, you are not allowed to interrupt anyone during public comment. And if you aren't believing that, talk to Mr. Khan or talk to Mr. Weintraub. I went through an 18-month ordeal to get that legal precedent, and you are going to comply with the law. Don't laugh, you will comply. Your laugh says you're not going to. You will be sued as well. I have already sued before, and I will take you to court. You will comply. The other side of that suit made you personally liable because you're being told in official capacity right here, right now, you cannot interrupt somebody. And if you do, you're doing it on a personal basis, and you will pay for those lawsuits out of your own pocket. And that is the precedented law. And if you don't believe so, Mr. Weintraub here can educate you on it.
Anna Darmond.
The last time I spoke, Mr. Harvey, you violated PA Sunshine Act 65. Is the speaker on?
Speaker's on. You might have to get closer to it.
You violated PA Sunshine Act 65 and my constitutionally guaranteed First Amendment rights when you did not allow me to make public comment. Your own website states, Bucks County residents who wish to make a comment during the meeting may do so in person. When I arrived, the kiosk was locked and I was refused my request to sign in for comment. This was the first violation of the law that day for me. Then I raised an objection at the end of public comment using Robert's Rules of Order and Section 710.1C of PA Act 65 Sunshine Law, which states that any person has the right to raise an objection at any time to a perceived violation of this chapter at any meeting of a board or council of a political subdivision or authority created by a political subdivision. You refused to hear my objection. Not only did you violate PA Sunshine Act and the U.S. Constitution, my rights, you then further attempted to intimidate me by having your security come to tell me that I could not exercise these by law guaranteed rights. Was this simply an issue of you not knowing the law? If so, you have now been informed, and I will accept your apology for these violations. Do you remember when I started coming to these meetings, how you handled the public comment, how we came in, we were sitting down, there was no sign-in. You said, hey, anybody have comment they want to make? That's the way it should be done. If you want to have a sign-in, you need to have it open the entire time until that gavel goes, meeting is adjourned. What I'm seeing is repeated attempts to intimidate public commenters during these meetings. Mrs. Marseglia wants to count lies and paint constituents as grandstanders. Don't you ever forget that it's your own actions and your poor governing that have brought your constituents to these meetings. It is our duty to hold you accountable, and you don't get a pass from following the law, and you don't get a pass from being transparent. And Marseglia, you're lying about the vaccines. They do harm. People have died. They're getting
Okay, thank you.
They don't work. They're getting
Thank you.
problems. You lied. You told people they're safe. You made people get
Thank you. Joe is the name that's, okay.
Good afternoon. I've listened intently to these latest accusations, innuendos, falsehood from the conspiracy theorists here today. They continue with their hits. I remember when we did the felons, when you guys were all accused of being felons because you took zip drives and turned them and put them into hard drives. That was proven false. The next was the health director, didn't write his own directive for COVID. Eric Nagy, the communication director, was supposedly responsible for that. That was proven false by numerous reporters.
We saw the 2,000 mule episode, which is so insane and ridiculous on its face, it made you wonder whether anyone in their right mind could believe such idiocy. Now, one more has arisen with the iPads, that somebody's going to hack into the iPads and steal all our handwriting, which is just unreasonable on its face. This is all done for one reason and only one reason: to undercut our free and fair elections in this county. It's done to undercut all of you, not just the commissioners, whether it's anybody in this that works in this county, they want to undercut. One thing I want to say in conclusion, I think Ben Franklin said it pretty good. He said, we're all born ignorant, but one must work hard to stay that way. And I think that's one of the problems we have here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's the last name on the list. Just addressing some of the issues, working back to front, I guess, maybe. In bold-faced, underlined, and italicized on every agenda, it happens to be on the back page of this one just because of how long the agenda is a comment that tells people you have to sign in prior to the first public comment period in order to get on the public comment list. This is not new. It's been like this for months and months and months. So I don't know what else we can do to make it obvious, to make it clear that, while we have public comment, we are allowed to put rules on that public comment in order to conduct a meeting. And that rule is not new. So that addresses one of the complaints. In terms of right-to-know requests, as stated before, this county has already turned over probably well over 5,000 pages of emails, not just 5,000 emails, 5,000 pages of emails over the past year, or at least this part of this year. In terms of the issues raised with voting, one of the reasons why we wanted to have Mr. Freitag here to talk is because of his expertise in this and the fact that he stated, I think the first thing he said maybe, was about the misinformation, the outright lie, I think, in my opinion, put out by certain state representatives in this Commonwealth, about 250 or however many it is now. It's like Joe McCarthy, the number keeps changing. 250,000 ballots that were mailed to non-verified voters, which has been proven wrong many, many times, as was explained thoroughly by Mr. Freitag. So anybody who just ignored everything he said and then makes another accusation, I don't know what to do about that. Voter IDs, of course, is a popular thing, looking for a solution, looking for a problem. There are people in this country who do not have identifications. They don't have government-issued ID. Elderly, people who don't have a driver's license because they can't afford a car. People who, I know of somebody I know, his grandfather has since passed away, but his grandfather lived to be over 100, passed away several years ago. Never missed a vote from the age he was 21. And when the voter identification law was passed back in 2012, I think it was passed, or 2011, something like that, the law stated that he would have to show up with his birth certificate, his original birth certificate, to get a photo ID since he didn't have one. Problem was he was so old he didn't have an original birth certificate. So here's someone who is going to be in his 90s or was close to 100 who would not have been able to vote under that previous law. And so you have to start asking if the measures about real, true voter protection or voter intimidation or voter suppression. The one idea which I think I like, I'm in favor of, probably all three of us up here are in favor of, is I'm fine in terms of there being a national holiday for Election Day. I think it makes sense. I think the country should have off. Everybody should have off for Election Day. Certainly we give our employees off for Election Day. So we're, that's not just us. It would happen before we got here. So we don't make that decision, obviously, but that's certainly something I agree with. Those are the responses to the comments. Okay. All right, moving on to commissioner comments. Commissioner DiGirolamo.
Yes, I would just like to, since we have Veterans Day coming up, I know we had a presentation from our Director of Veterans Affairs. I would just like to thank all our veterans, the men and women who have fought to defend what we have and what we enjoy, what we're doing here today. This is certainly an example of democracy at work, what we're doing. And I want to thank the veterans for their sacrifice, for their family sacrifice, for their courage, for their bravery, and allowing us to do the things that we do here in the United States of America. And I always say this, is that truly the greatest, freest, most prosperous nation this world has ever known. So thanks to our veterans, and we shouldn't just thank them on Veterans Day, we should thank them every day of the year for what they've done to protect us and make us safe and secure. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Commissioner Marseglia?
Thank you, Gene. I would agree. I also just wanted to talk about this slide. This Saturday, up at the Upper Bucks Community College, which is a beautiful campus, is the second, every year we have 2 Hold On You Matter suicide prevention walks. So this is the one that we have in November. The other one is in Lower Bucks in April. So I would encourage everyone to attend. If you can't be there, you can still make a donation online. You can go to holdonyoumatter.com. And it's also on our website. You can just go there. But everybody can register from 12:30 on Saturday at the campus, and we begin at 1:30. And appreciate to have that support out there. It's really important, and we are doing good things with the money raised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just want to touch base before I make a few comments on today's agenda, things that were in there that some don't always get looked at, really. Today, the commissioners approved about $146,000 for the Area Agency on Aging in the Chamonix Manor, taking care of our seniors, $335,000 for behavioral health developmental programs, which addresses some of the mental health issues that were raised earlier. In fact, this commissioners, probably every agenda we meet, approve hundreds of thousands, if not over the course of this year, millions of dollars for mental health. Children and youth, about $2.8 million. Human services in general, beyond what I've already mentioned, about $1.7 million. For workforce and economic development, about $492,000. This is all money going to programs to help Bucks County residents. And finally, just one of the things I haven't highlighted before, but probably should, in terms of revenue, our agencies not only are allocating money and sending it out, but also getting money in through state programs and grants. So just in today's agenda, we're taking in about $5.3 million in terms of revenue that we can use to then provide services to Bucks County residents. Like the other commissioners and like everybody else, I want to thank the veterans who have served this country, who are continuing to serve this country. So my father was a veteran, 5 uncles who were veterans. 1 fought in Korea, 2 in Vietnam, 2 in between. 5 great uncles who served in World War II, and going back to relatives of mine who fought and died in the Civil War in this country, and Revolutionary War as well. So I was raised with a lot of respect for veterans and continue to have that respect for veterans, and thank them for their service, and thank everybody who is going to put on any kind of parade or event to celebrate those veterans. Thank you for what you're doing as well. And finally, just letting people know, make sure this is flu season. Make sure you get your flu shot. Okay, you can get those for free. I think we're having a clinic. The county's actually having a clinic for its own employees. Make sure you get a flu shot, and don't forget your COVID booster. Just got mine about 2 days ago. Excuse me. Thank you. For those that actually believe in science, got my COVID booster a couple days ago, so it's certainly worth getting. We have a disease on the run. We don't want to give it a chance to get back up. So appreciate everyone's work today. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.